Hello there, and today the first part of my walk runs alongside, following the route of the River Synderford, and I think you can probably hear the water in the background. One or two really rather lovely things to see and promised along the side of this river. And initially walking along what is the access road to Castlewood Farm, but it's also a public footpath just gone over the river there on a bridge, and there you'll see more of it. Well, there's the farm, there's the road I've just walked along, here's the river. It's really more a stream than a river, the Synderford, and here by the farm there's a lovely calm pond with ducks and a couple of little rowing boats as well. It's the most beautiful cloudless day. Really gorgeous weather at the end of February. But the footpath doesn't go right by the lake, by the pond. Instead, our way ahead lies through this gate here. 2 or 3 minutes further along, and it occurs to me to mention that this stream, the Synderford, is rather unusual in this part of the world because it flows almost due north, whereas almost everything here flows south, and a lot of the geography of Dorset is formed really by water heading southwards towards the coast. The Synderford bucks that trend. It obviously drains a valley that is basically tilted north, but eventually it joins the River Axe, and then the Axe takes it all the way out to the sea. Let's go through this. Whoops, gate makes a bit of a noise. A lot of stiles on this walk, most of them in fairly good nick, but I'm quite prepared for one or two where I'll have to clamber or wade a little through mud. We shall see. I'll pause the camera while I climb over this one. Of course, we all know that streams, whether they're flowing north or south, can change, not their total direction, but can change their course from time to time. And here's a rather nice example of it. Here you'll see is the fence around the field. Oh, and there's the fence where it used to be before the stream decided to have a little kink in it, with the fence posts hanging in mid-air from their barbed wire. Great stuff. You can see there's plenty of woodland between the fields in this part of the county. We'll press on, and I think we're going to go through a little patch of that woodland in a moment. Here we are, over another stile I've gone, and here in the wood is one of the delights of this walk. If I can get my own shadow out of the way. Do you see, it's the time of the year when these little wild daffodils are coming into bloom, and I'm expecting to see quite a lot of them. There are some on the other side of the stream there, but because it's the end of February, not only do we have the wild daffodils, we still have snowdrops. You might see them along the edge of the stream there. And this beautiful little glade in the woodland here gives us both. There are the snowdrops. There are more of the wild daffodils, jonquils I should call them. the foot of a slightly mossy tree. A rather magical spot with the Synderford and a little tributary stream joining each other just here. Looking carefully at the ground, I see that in a couple of months we should have wild garlic and bluebells again in this same glade. But now I have to actually find a way to ford this stream carefully. Do it here. This is where the footpath goes, but there's no bridge. One doesn't have to be very intrepid, just have waterproof footwear. And then the footpath takes us out across yet another stile. Just a few more of these wild daffodils for you. Up a slope off to the side of my path. These out in full sun. Mostly, of course, this path in itself is pretty flat because we're walking parallel to a stream that doesn't fall very far over its length. Oh, yet another stile. This time of the year, with the leaves off, almost everything in front of us except some holly and the ivy climbing the trees, of course. The woodland, the other side of the stream, is particularly visible. You can see right through. Keeping my eyes peeled for deer. Wouldn't be surprised to see some deer on this walk, but not yet today. And there, in the sunlight across the field, lies the continuation of our path. Oh dear, this is the muddiest bit of the walk so far, I think. A field gate. Push open. Ah, but what's this? You see there's a pool here. And what is in the pool but, I wonder if you can see that. That is a great wodge of frog spawn. There it is. Soon to be tadpoles. I hope actually there's a little more rain to come, because without that I'm not sure what the tadpoles will do when they release themselves from their spawn. But they're fairly near this muddy patch. What a place. Maybe some frogs for the new season. Onward along the side of the stream. Now here the path divides. There's one path through that gate there and another one across a wooden bridge. Oh, this is very inviting. I think I must go this way. And there's another glade with drifts of snowdrops and the wild daffodils. But actually, consulting the map for a moment, that is not where the walk is taking me today. So, there have been various areas along the stream with the snowdrops and the daffodils. I've shown you one or two of the best, rather than stopped every time I saw them. And instead, through another rather muddy gate, yeah, squelch, squelch, we'll head on in this direction towards the small village of Synderford, same name as the stream. Once again, we've got a choice of paths, one through that gate there and up the hill a little bit away from the stream into the hamlet of Synderford, or to take this path here which crosses the stream and takes me more directly to the village of Thorncon. So I think we'll go that way today. Explore a slightly different route from the one I had planned. It's yet another stile and another bridge and more of this rather charming stream. We now left the Synderford stream behind. Oh, no telling who's the black sheep of this family. Funnily enough, there's just one white sheep. I wonder if the same holds true. Are you the renegade? Maybe you are. And up to the field corner towards Thorncon. Well, a few more minutes walking along well-marked footpaths and then on some quiet lanes, quite steeply up and down in one part, have brought me to the village of Thorncon. Rather magnificent tree here in its churchyard. Church is closed at the moment because of COVID. But it seems to me in happier times, if we were coming here as a walking group with picnic lunch, this is the sort of spot. Oh! There we are. The church bell marking the half hour. The sort of spot where one might well stop and unwrap one's sandwiches. There's a seat here. Oh, it's dedicated rather beautifully to June Eade. Fond memories of June the Tune Eade, who lived from 1928 to 2009. It says, she loved this village, this church and the people in it. And then there's a quotation, come and be, I'll read it again. Come and quiet be, and let the silence sing. Not a bad thing to have written on your memorial seat. But now time, I think, for me to find my way to the centre of the village and then back onto the footpaths. So here we are, right in the centre of the village. Thorncon Chapel. Coming round what looks like an old schoolhouse and a water fountain. And one of the more elegant bus stops you'll see, I think. It's a pleasantly sleepy place on a sunny day like this. But just down here, there ought to be the start of a footpath. Yep, there's a sign. There we are. See you again in a little while. Quick glance back at Thorncon. Below me, downhill to the right, could well be the Coombe, the valley with thorn bushes that gave the place its name originally. But in the foreground, fresh hazel catkins for this spring. And this is a bit of the path I've never walked before at all. So I'm as much in the dark as you are about what might lie ahead. We're coming into a belt of woodland here. There's a fairly steep slope down to another little brook, not the Synderford, but I know I've got to cross that at some stage, but for the moment the path lies upwards towards the sun. This bridge isn't where we cross that little brook, because the brook is between us and those woods. It's right down there. Lots of ferns growing in the special microclimate of this ravine, this little gorge. On we go. Eventually that path brought me out at a crossroads at a place called, rather wonderfully called Sadborough Pound, where there's this cottage walled in cedar shingles, I think, split wood rather than tiles. Sadborough Pound. I don't think borrowing a pound has anything to do with it. This would have been a pound where stray animals were rounded up and kept. Why Sadborough? I'm not quite sure. Barrow, who can say? But from here there's a short walk along this lane before we find a footpath again, off to our right and through the fields. I just love the shape of this tree. Can't help thinking of someone throwing their head back, arms raised, singing out Alleluia or Blessed Be or whatever to a fantastic sky above, what the poet E.E. Cummings once called a true blue dream of sky. Just opposite that tree our path comes off the lane and into what I know is likely to be a rather soggy field. But it's time to point out that since leaving Thorncon, basically the route's turned southwards, broadly travelling south now, having gone north beforehand. Over to the right there, that's that wooded hill is Lambert's Castle, so called, one of the Iron Age hill forts near here. So the path's bringing me right through a farmyard and past this really rather lovely old farmhouse, thatched, built in local stone and brick. Then the path heads off out again into open countryside. This part of the path goes through along a sloping field with woodland to the left and woodland to the right. Particularly enticing, these woods to the right. Every now and then there's a stile going in, but each of them, like this one here, is labelled no entry. You can see the blue feed dispenser, or is it water dispenser for pheasants there. They breed pheasants here. And most of the woodland below me is coniferous, and therefore quite dark. But right here, waiting to astonish the trees around it with newfound splendour in the spring, is this glorious beech. I'd love to come back and see that in full leaf later on. But today, homeward bound. This marks roughly the end of the country walk part of the path. That's where we've just come from. And then over here, behind the trees, is a house. Here's a gate through onto a farm access road, just as the walk started, though not the same farm. Not at all surprised on a sunny day like this, even in February, to see that the bees from these hives are working a bit. I won't go any closer, but perhaps I can enlarge the picture. You may see the bees in the sun there. This house must have the most astonishing views, clear across the Marshwood Vale, all the way down towards the sea. This is also the point at which I rejoin the public road.